A massacre in the Tigray mountains. A voice is heard in Tigray, weeping and great mourning, survivors lamenting for their loved ones and refusing to be comforted because they are no more. Adapted from Matthew 2:18. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress, or persecution or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or the sword? No one can separate us from the love of Christ. Now lift up your eyes to the mountains of Tigray. What will you see? Tigray, the northern beauty of Ethiopia, the city which hosts several stunning rock-cut churches clustered in its mountains. Now the mountains of Tigray became witness to a genocide as thousands of innocent civilians were massacred in cold blood. They thought they were safe in the church. Then the soldiers arrived. For months, the Christians of Tigray were targeted, attacked, tortured, and then martyred. The cries of the Sunday school children echo in the mountains of Tigray as their lifeless bodies were left unburied in their Sunday school worship attire. Some even were completely unrecognizable. Their shoes, their shirts, and their bags are drenched with their pure blood. The smell of death encircling over the mountains. Isai, Hayali Maryam, Berhani, Yohannes, and many others have their graves in the mountains of Tigray with no names above their heads, while others were eaten by vultures before they got buried. As we read in the book of Revelation, when he opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of the priests, older men, mothers, and even entire families who had been slain for the word of God. And they cried with a loud voice, "How long, O Lord, until you judge and avenge our blood from those who dwell on the earth?" This all too similar scene was also witnessed in November 2020 in the sacred, beautiful city of Axum, which is presumed to house the Ark of the Covenant. Locally known as the Feast of Tabut Tisyan, the congregants remember and celebrate the most precious gift of the Old Testament in what was supposed to be a very joyful day in Axum turned into a massacre. Thousands of brave men, women, and children were viciously attacked and slaughtered on this festive occasion. An entire city lay covered in blood and dead bodies as the ruthless soldiers refused to allow those grieving to even bury the dead. As Saint Ignatius, 3rd century bishop of Smyrna and martyr, said, "Allow me to become food for the wild beasts." Many of the victims' bodies in Tigray were left unburied and became the food for the beasts of the mountains. As Saint Ignatius continues saying, "I am the wheat of God, and shall be ground by the teeth of the wild beasts to become Christ's pure bread. Daughters of Ethiopia, rejoice, because your fellow citizens of Tigray have become your intercessors before the throne of God. Daughters of Ethiopia, rejoice, because the Tigray victims are now the new 21st century martyrs, whose pure blood will strengthen the faith of Christians in Ethiopia. Daughters of Ethiopia, rejoice, because your fellow Tigray brothers and sisters were able to partake of Christ's suffering, counted as sheep for the slaughter, that when His glory is revealed, you may also be glad with exceeding joy. The blood and the flesh of the Tigray martyrs, integrated with the soil, will forever enrich the faith of this great country for many generations to come, and be transformed to be a Christian pillar of orthodoxy. Now, lift up your eyes to the mountain of Tigray. A massacre in the mountains had occurred, and God is the witness.